Hey guys, welcome back to Sports with Mono and Mono. It's September 23rd, 2023. And a kind of a rainy, crappy day here in New Jersey. So I hope everybody's doing well. And of course, I always like to thank everybody for their continued support of Steve, who's he's doing better. Honestly, spoke to him during the week, and he's making some progress. So I'm happy about that. But again, thanks to everybody for their continued support. And, we jump right in. We got a kind of a busy day in college football for sure and so forth. But our monologue, of course, is sponsored by Coriano Trucking of Summer Hill, New York. And the monologue this week, because it's kind of been a rough year for Yankee fans and so forth, right? I mean, they're not going to the playoffs. The Mets were officially eliminated yesterday. But I watched a great show on Yes Network. It was Yankeeography, and it was Mickey Mantle. And I hadn't seen that in quite a while. And it was so interesting to watch this and how popular he was, succeeding Joe DiMaggio and, the legend, that he created for himself coming from Oklahoma, probably the best switch hitter in baseball history. And I bring this up because we're watching some monumental things this year with this Ronald Acuna Jr., the year he's having. I mean, he's having a Mickey Mantle type year. And Mickey Mantle had great years. And if he wasn't injured, some of his numbers probably would have been, insurmountable. But you look at the year that he's had and look at the year that Aaron Judge has had. He's missed like 50 games, and he's still probably on pace to hit 50 home runs. So I bring this up because it kind of is disappointing as it is. I think, when you look at what Aaron Judge has accomplished this year and what Mickey Mantle did for, the better part of 16 seasons, it really is a great show. It gives you just a great perspective on the game of baseball and how popular it has become and why people get so crazy over it in New York. And when the Yankees don't win, everybody gets all down and depressed. But you have to look at the overall landscape of Major League Baseball, and it's booming right now. And you have the Atlanta Braves are just having an incredible season. And but it's a Yankeeography on Mickey Mantle. If you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend it. It's excellent. And but I just wanted to tip my hat to the year that Acuna Jr.'s had, because he joins this exclusive 40-40 club, right? 40 home runs, 40 stolen bases with I think Canseco was in it, Bonds was in it. And now this guy is 40 and 60, right, Eli? I think he's actually got 60 stolen bases and 40 home runs. So
Yes, I believe so.
I mean, that's some kind of year. And Mickey Mantle had those kind of years for a long time. And if he wasn't hurt, I mean, his numbers would have been incredible. He certainly would have been.
Oh, no question.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
So anyway, Major League Baseball, like I said, the Mets are officially eliminated. They go into the season with the highest payroll in baseball, and they come out of it where they're going to be watching the postseason on television with the rest of us. So
Right.
very disappointing.
Same way they entered, same way they leave out, like last year.
Yeah.
Fortunate to say, but it's the truth.
But I think the good thing that we're seeing, though, and we're seeing this with the Yankees too. They're finally giving these kids the chance to play, right? The young kids, and see what they can do, right? Since the year is pretty much a washout. Both the Mets with this kid Vientos, he's a real good player, and the Mets do have a pretty good foundation going forward. But it just goes to show that just because you have the highest payroll doesn't mean you're gonna automatically buy a World Series championship. And when we saw it front row center from a New York perspective this year.
Would you say they've made progress since last year and they made change?
The Mets?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, when we went into the season, I mean, adding Verlander obviously I thought was key. Didn't realize that maybe these guys are approaching 40 years old, and that's why but they do have a lot of good young talent. But when we went into the season, I didn't think they made a lot of wholesale improvements across, the whole team. And it played out that way, right? So they kind of dismantled it, and now they're bringing up these young kids and giving them a shot. So we'll see. But I got to tell you, the Atlanta Braves look tough to beat. I mean, they do.
Absolutely. No question
Wow.
about that. They were a good team, and the fact they clinched the playoffs again, that's gonna be a great battle. Let me tell you, in this World Series playoff run coming up, because this is gonna be a fun
Yeah.
battle. Good teams, right teams that are supposed to be in it, and deserved teams. So we'll see how it plays out, and it's almost time. We're less than
Yeah.
7 days away until October. Which where did the
Yeah.
time go? Let me tell you.
It's
And
unbelievable, right? So there's
right,
what, less than 10 games left, and we still got quite a horse race going on for the final wild cards in the
right.
American League, right?
Absolutely. There's still some spots open, still some change, and it could change within October before October even arises. So it's
Yep,
exciting.
yep. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's really it's definitely. I mean, these guys are within a half game of one another, right? The Rangers, your Seattle team, and
right.
it's really wide open there. So
Absolutely.
and
And
look what the Phillies did again, the second year in a row that they kind of started off really slow, and then they ultimately make the World Series, and they're on a roll right now too. So anything can happen, obviously, in baseball. But I really think that the Atlanta Braves this time are
the
just
team to
really
beat.
tough to beat, right?
Absolutely. And feel free for everybody who's watching to feel free to send him an email at sportsmanoman@gmail.com. Feel free to chat wherever you're watching. And please let us know your thoughts on how everything has been going on watching this, what needs to be improved, and what you wish to see on the show. We'll love to hear your
Yeah.
thoughts. And going forward at the bottom, you'll see all the scores for the NFL going forward, as well as the playoff run for MLB when it comes closer to playoff start and in progress.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's a good touch. I like that little thing on the bottom you got going. That's good. Good production right there. I'll tell you that. So Eli, let's jump right into it. It's a real big day in college football today. A lot of big
Absolutely.
marquee games, right? Let's start right with probably the marquee game
I
is Notre
agree.
Dame, Ohio State today.
Right.
And listen, I'm just a little, of course, shameless plug that the leading rusher in college football is Audric Estime from St. Joe's, right?
Yeah. A little plug.
Right. So that's a big game today. And Notre Dame is looking really good. I like this addition of Sam Hartman as the quarterback, and they have, an excellent running game and stuff. So, they have a chance, but I saw they haven't beaten Ohio State since 1936 or
Ooh.
something.
Oh man.
And they don't actually play that often, but I mean,
It's a
that
great
is a
rivalry.
yeah, that's a big game today.
Right. And I
Um,
can't wait for that one. It's on ABC, I
yeah,
believe. So it's exciting.
another big game, and again, I mean, this whole story with Colorado will not go away. I mean, they
Right.
had a hell of a game last week, but they probably got their toughest test so far with Bo Nix and Oregon today. They're 21-point underdogs, but that doesn't really mean anything, right? Because
Right.
this is probably the third time they've been a 21-point underdog,
Mhm.
but they're still winning. So that's a big game, and you have a couple other real big games. Florida State, which kind of we talked about it a
Right.
little bit offline, that they haven't really been
At
relevant the
the
way
right
they
level.
were back in the '80s, right?
Right.
When we were
Absolutely.
growing up, when I was growing up, anyway. But they're back in the mix, and they got to go down and play Clemson today. So we're going to find out. A lot of people are dismissing Clemson and saying, the tide, no pun intended, has turned on Alabama and Clemson, and they're no longer the dominant forces that they once were. But listen, Dabo Sweeney knows what he's doing, and he's going to have that team ready to play today. But this is a big test for me to see whether or not Florida State really is indeed back at that high level that they were in the '80s.
Right.
See if they really do deserve that number 4 ranking where they are right now. So that's a big game today. And here's another. It's not. I guess you wouldn't consider it a big game, but from from a New Jersey perspective, Rutgers is playing Michigan, right? And we've
Right.
talked time and time again about Rutgers football and, whether they belong or do not belong in the Big Ten at that kind of level. I've actually watched them play a couple of times. They look pretty good. So I don't think they're going to get blown out in Michigan today. I mean, I know they're a big underdog, and this is a big test for Greg Schiano and that program. But that's if you want to play with the big boys, you got to beat the big boys, and they're in Michigan today. So good luck to the Rutgers team. So what else, Eli? Give me another.
I don't know. There's a lot of good ones today. I think my highlight of the day is gonna be Notre Dame game, but there's a lot of them out there. If I had to throw one out there, it's gonna be a good one. Let's see here. I take Florida State. You mentioned with Clemson. That's a good one. Mississippi, Alabama. That's another good close game. Yeah, I guess you could throw out there. Duke, Connecticut. Not really. Yeah, honestly,
All right.
not bad. I
Well,
mean, there's games, but I don't know if there's games that we're surprised about. Let's just say that.
yeah. So we're gonna keep an eye on those games. Like I said, absolute marquee game is Ohio State Notre Dame.
Absolutely, no question.
So we'll watch that. And all right, let's jump into the pro ranks and let's
The
talk
National
a little bit
Football
about
League.
National Football League. Right. So both you and I were 2-1 with our 3 picks last week.
Yes, we
Not
were.
bad. Not bad. Yeah, so let's I'll start with the Giants here. And right, there was a great comeback win against a really lousy Arizona Cardinals team.
Right.
But they did come back to win, but they did go and lose Saquon Barkley.
Yes, they did.
Ankle injury, and they had a short week. And boy, did to come back from a short week with your starting left tackle is out, your starting running back was out.
Right.
And they had to play the San Francisco 49ers, which people are saying right now is probably
the best team in the league.
It's the best team in the league. Yeah. So
absolutely. And I'll add 2 points in. I could see why now the Giants wanted to take their time with that Saquon Barkley deal, because I think they kind of figured of how the injuries go with Saquon Barkley and how the flow goes. Now, when they play the 49ers, they are the number 1 team in that game. They have gone 8 straight 0 with Brock Purdy. So there is no question and doubt that they were not expected to win that game, but they played well. But the fact that they were trailing almost had a repeat of the Dallas score versus an Arizona Cardinals team was a little scary, but I'm glad they got the win, because if they lost the Arizona Cardinals, we would have had a lot of complaints from every single NFL and Giant fan for sure. And
you better believe it. Yeah.
The Giants are going to be in for a struggle as they play Seattle next week on Monday night, which I'll be attending the game to. So I'll be there.
Attaboy.
Yeah. As the loyal fan I am.
I know you are. But no, I think we're pretty much where we expected ourselves to be from a Giants perspective, right? 1-2. Had to open up against Dallas, kind of got a soft game, and then so it's not going to get any easier for the Giants. But I told you in the beginning, I mean, I wasn't all that optimistic that they were going to be this, significantly improved team over last year. I think Dable's doing a great job with it. It looks like Daniel Jones is really starting to take command, but the offensive line, it's going to get him hurt. I mean, that's it's just absolutely in a terrible state of that offensive line. It's going to hurt them in the long run. So, but we'll see about that. Let's talk about our picks this week.
Yes.
So your Seattle team, who do they got this week?
We have Carolina Panthers, and from my understanding, we are in favor by 6.5 this week. Wow. So I'm going to take Seattle to win that game 34-20, and I'm choosing that as my main lock of the week.
Okay. All right, I got 3 games that I picked. You could pick your 3 games. They don't have to necessarily be my 3 games, right? So I got Atlanta and Detroit. Now again, everybody's jumping on Detroit, like they're going places. They're much improved, but I'm still not 100% sold on Jared Goff. I get a little bit Nervous about him for the long haul, but I do like him this week over Atlanta, even though Atlanta had a big win over Green Bay last week. I'm going to take Detroit. And another game, New Orleans, who seems to be a much improved team. I don't know if it's Derek Carr or not, but they're going to go and take on Green Bay. And in Green Bay, but I do like New Orleans in that game. I'm still not sure, what kind of team we're going to get with Green Bay yet. And I like Jordan Love. I think he's got a lot of potential, but
Right.
They're still recovering from the offseason and losing Aaron Rodgers and all that kind of stuff. But so I'm going with New Orleans today.
All right.
And my third game is Buffalo is playing Washington. Now I spent some time last week with some Buffalo fans, and I tell you, they're not as
good as we expect.
They're not as optimistic as kind of I am. I still think they're a really formidable team in the AFC. I think they're still one of the teams to beat.
Absolutely.
So I'm not 100% sold on Washington coming back. I don't know.
No.
A little early to tell about whether Sam Howell is the answer or not.
No.
So I'm taking Buffalo on the road in Washington. So I got Detroit, New Orleans, and Buffalo, and give us your three picks.
So I'm going to use those three, and then I'm going to give three of my different ones. So I'm going to take Buffalo, as always, over Commanders. That final is going to be 33-30. I think it's still a high-scoring game. The Commanders are a good team, but the Bills are the better team. Yep. Saints, Packers. I am taking the New Orleans Saints to win 20-27. I have better faith in the Saints than I do with the Packers, despite their wins in the past. Saints look like the better team despite playing easy teams. And I'm taking the Atlanta Falcons over the Detroit Lions. I like Bijan Robinson, and I love Atlanta and what they've been doing. I'm taking them to win 26-25. And to add three random picks to change it up, I'm taking the two Monday night games. I'm taking the Buccaneers over the Eagles, 28-21. And I'm taking the Rams over the Bengals, 30-20.
Well, it doesn't look like Joe Burrow is going to be playing in that game.
No, absolutely not. Oh, and I forgot the third one. Colts over the Ravens, 28-20.
Well, I don't know about the Colts. I'm
aware that Anthony Richardson's not going to be playing. He's out for the game. But I have faith in that backup quarterback, and I liked what he did versus the Texans. I'm aware it's just the Texans. But remember, Ravens have Odell Beckham Jr. out. So you got to add that as a factor in, too.
Yeah, I don't know how much of a factor he really is anymore, to be quite honest. I mean, he's coming off, an injury and so forth, and he has been injury prone over his career as well. So,
right.
But I gotta take exception because I'm not sold on this Baker Mayfield in Tampa Bay. I think.
But the reason we chose them, and I'll give my reason, Philadelphia came up close 2 weeks in a row, cutting it close with Minnesota and cutting it very close with the New England Patriots on the first game of the season. You got to add those two factors in together. They're technically an okay team, despite being 2-0. And with what I've seen with Tampa Bay, I feel like they're going to take the upset over Philadelphia this week, especially being on Monday night. And that I believe Tampa Bay is home. So that gives them an extra advantage to throw out a little twist.
Yeah, I think Philadelphia is for real. I like them. I mean, we'll see about that. I'm just not I just can't buy into this Baker Mayfield. I've seen enough of him to know he's kind of a 50-50 type quarterback. He'll win as many games as he'll lose for you. So
yes. And I'm going to add in a few NFL topic notes that came up within the week. The 49ers announced they will be re-signing GM John Lynch as well as Coach Kyle Shanahan. The Rams are sending Cam Akers to the Vikings. The Browns are re-signing Kareem Hunt following Nick Chubb's big injury, which was horrible to watch on Monday night versus the Steelers. That was on ABC. The Bears had over $100,000 worth of equipment stolen on Wednesday, and they are off to play Kansas City this week. A lot of players out. Thursday Night Football, of course, had a huge number week following the Minnesota game a few weeks ago. ABC premiered a Monday Night Football premiered a new theme song with with In the Air Tonight, replacing All Night Long. That was pretty good. I enjoyed that one. And ABC will be hosting Monday Night Football for the rest of the season, and that is because of the writers and actor strike. Yes, there is an agreement still trying to be in process in the works, but going forward, ABC will also have the games on top of ESPN for Monday night. It's only be one game beginning week 4 on, but that is just going to be an extra channel to watch out for those games.
Yeah, I'm not sure. What was the rationale behind having 2 Monday night games?
It was part of the new contract. The new contract started back in 2022 that guaranteed them at least 2 or 3 games in the season to host at least 2 Monday night games. Plus, they get a divisional round on top of the wild card game, and then they also get the international game on ESPN Plus, and they also get to host the Super Bowl in 2026 and 2030 when it's usually just the main 3: Fox, CBS, and NBC. So that was all part of the deal.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's tough to watch 2 games at once on
absolutely on Monday night when you're all tired and stressed, and now you got to go to right. But last week I wasn't concerned about because it wasn't that great of a matchup, except for that Nick Chubb injury. That was rough to watch. But this week is going to be rough because those are 4 good teams playing. Well, 3 good teams in minusing Cincinnati, and yeah, and
let's
just
talk
Nick
about
Chubb injury
yeah,
was rough.
Yeah, that's a big loss for them.
That was a rough. Did you see it? Like, he literally took the L. The leg. It was, oh my god.
Yeah, I agree. So your Seahawks are coming to town, huh?
They are coming to town. I was very happy with last week's victory and over the Detroit Lions. They cut it close. There was a few interesting calls, but I'm very happy with the Seattle Seahawks have done, and their future is bright. They play a great matchup this week versus the Panthers, and then they got the New York Giants on Monday night, which they do very good in MetLife Stadium to keep in mind about. So we'll see how that plays out. But I am super excited about this team. The offense is there. Defense still needs work, let me tell you. But for the most part, I'm very happy with everything, how it's been playing out so far.
Well, I'll give you a little bit of advice, Eli. Since you're going to the game, of course, next week, you probably want to start leaving for the game on Saturday because it takes about 3 days to get in MetLife Stadium and it takes about 3 days to get out. So it's one of the worst venues in sports for accessibility for 75,000 people to get in and out of that stadium. They just haven't.
We usually take the train to the game, so it's not too bad. Because usually when we did the preseason game and we did the first time when we went a few years ago when the Seahawks came to play the Giants, it wasn't too bad because we don't usually tailgate or nothing like that. We just go right in. So that kind of gives us like a little bit of head start compared to everybody else. But we'll see how.
And what do you have to do? You have to go to take the Secaucus Junction.
Yes, Secaucus Junction to MetLife Stadium, and then you could transfer to any other train, bus, or or to Hoboken. So.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I think that's the smart play because I tell you, they robbed it.
Except for the Super Bowl. Except for the Super Bowl. Never take the train to the Super Bowl. We learned that lesson once. We never went to the Super Bowl, but you see all the lessons. You heard it on the news.
Yep. So who won that Super Bowl? Isn't that where Peyton Manning won the Super Bowl?
No, Seattle beat Peyton Manning. The final score was 42-8. Remember the first play of the game for Super Bowl 48 was a safety, the fastest score in the Super Bowl. The ball goes right over Peyton Manning's head. A few years later, Peyton Manning goes on to win the Super Bowl in Super Bowl 50, 49. Seattle went back at it again, but obviously that wonderful play call that ended up costing the game. We don't get into those details. And yeah,
a lot of people are saying that Russell Wilson hasn't been the same guy since that play.
You have to watch my podcast on every Tuesday when we do the recap because I rant about him every single week. The fact that he could not run the ball in that 2-point conversion when they had the touchdown in that Hail Mary miracle blows my mind. I don't think Sean Payton is wrong. I don't think it's the rest of the Denver team. I know it's the quarterback. You're 0-2 right now, and there are plays that you could have ran the ball. Run the ball. Come on, run the ball.
Yeah.
As Richard Sherman once said on Thursday Night Football on Prime Video.
Yeah. All right. So let's listen before we move off football. Let's talk a little bit about high school football because
absolutely,
because we're going to do the show next week at 9 because you'll be working the St. Mary's game.
Final game already before league crossovers and playoffs. So
it's hard to believe. I don't know where the time is going, but I did wanted to bring it up because We have a loyal listener, Mr. Garvey, down in Naples, Florida, who was an alumni, St. Joe's of Montvale, played St. Anthony's from Long Island. They call it the Battle of the Bridge. And St. Anthony's beat St. Joe's. And St. Joe's is a really good team this year. I mean, I still think Bergen Catholic is the team, obviously, to beat. Don Bosco's having a rough year so far. But St. Joe's did go into played a real tough St. Peter's team last night in Jersey City, and they won that game. So they're number 2 in the top 20 right now. So Bergen Catholic is clearly the number 1 team, and we're going to face them in about 3 weeks, I believe. Yeah, so that's why I just wanted to. That's a programming note that we'll be doing it at 9 next week because you got a game to cover.
We have a game next week, yes, and it's technically homecoming weekend. So there's a soccer game 10 o'clock in the morning. We're not supposed to broadcast that unless they tell us to, and no 10 o'clock in the morning, and then they go to right away to 11 o'clock to do 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock to do football, 4 o'clock volleyball. So they got a 3 triple header before their big finale, the dance at night. So big night for St. Mary's this week, upcoming week.
All right, good for you. Yes. And just also a programming note. I don't know if it had to do with the weather, but my grandson's had a game this morning in his little football league, and it was supposed to be streamed live on YouTube. And I don't know if it was the weather, but I couldn't pull it up, so I was kind of bummed about that.
A lot of broadcasts are being pulled off because of the weather. Like we were supposed to broadcast tonight's St. Mary game versus Wellington. We had to pull it off because we have no tents and we're not allowed press box access and the weather does not look favorable. So we are not broadcasting tonight. And that is, out of fairness, not because we don't want to get wet, but it's the equipment. Our concern is the equipment for sure. And it's not worth it. And if they're more than likely, I have a feeling it will get called off because I feel like the weather will get worse. I mean, it is a tropical storm after all.
Yeah, it's kind of been a rough stretch for weather-wise. Yeah, I mean, it actually, I was up in Rhode Island fishing with our sponsor, Michael Lynch from Lynch Toyota, and the weather just didn't really cooperate. The seas were rough.
Absolutely.
And we got rained out one day as well. So wasn't a big. We didn't have a big successful day pulling in some fish, but it was a great day to hang out with my old college friends. Great.
That's good to hear.
Right. So hopefully we can get this situation with my grandson's team because I want to see him play. He's playing on the offensive line now because he's starting to develop into a young man. He's a big kid. He's athletic, and they got a lot of good talent on this team. So. My heart has always been with football, and I just can't be more happy to watch him play the sport that I love growing up. It's just great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's move in. Let's talk a little bit about some random points of interest, Eli. Okay, yes. I got a couple little things. First of all, Shohei Ohtani, underwent that surgery that he needed to have for him. So he's not going to be – now, I don't think this is going to impact, his free agency because although he's not going to pitch next year, and this, of course, our Random Points is always sponsored by Lynch Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut. So he will be back. He will hit next year, but he will not pitch until 2025. So I don't know if that's impactful enough to scare away prospective suitors for his services, but yeah, I think his time for the Angels is done. And this guy is right now between him and Ronald Acuna Jr. kind of the face of baseball right now. These two guys. So we're going to see how that surgery pans out. Maybe his career as a pitcher. I don't think we've talked about this before. I don't think it's sustainable that he could pitch and play, regular everyday baseball. I think that's too much to ask, but we're going to see. So glad he's going to be on the road to recovery. Here's another interesting thing, and this goes back to the Colorado State game, and the Colorado State player was called for a penalty where Travis Hunter got hurt on the play. And this is how crazy people are. The kid's absolutely getting death threats from psychotics out there. I mean, this is a football game. And I will give credit to Deion Sanders. He did come to this kid's defense and said, yes, the kid made a mistake. You know, he had a brain freeze or whatever.
Right.
But nobody deserves over a football game to have their lives threatened. It was insane. But
That's ridiculous.
Was really happy to see Deion Sanders defend.
Oh, absolutely. Anybody who defends him is kudos to you. But that is absolutely horrible to say.
Yep. But we also have to, because I thought it was funny, because this guy does a lot of talking. Stephen A. Smith threw out the first ball.
Oh, man. That was a joke. That was horrible.
Wow.
You talk so much garbage and bad about everybody else. You couldn't even throw out a first pitch. Come on, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's 60 feet, 6 inches to home plate. He threw it 55 feet or something. So,
jeez, the Tyler can do better than that.
I'll give the guy credit. He owned it. He says, yeah, I owned it. I missed it. I blew it.
That's smart of him. But yeah.
So, just another little mention, because we talk about, coming up, the Ryder Cup starts next week, which I'm very, very excited about, right? That's always a great sporting event to watch on television. But, the equivalent of the Ryder Cup for the women's is the Solheim Cup, and that's going on right now. So that's a good battle too. So, we don't just talk about men's golf, right? Women's golf is getting in pretty popular right now as well. So good luck to them as they take on Europe in the Solheim Cup.
Absolutely. And I'll get into a few random points myself, just to throw it out there. NHL preseason has officially kicked off, and it happened last night with a Kings win over the Coyotes 5-3. That was all part of the Global Series. They were playing in Melbourne, Australia, and more games are happening today. The Coyotes will be playing the Blues and Kings one more time from what I saw. And more games are continuing to happen. The Devils will be playing on Monday with a split squad game, which would mean 2 games at once, one in Philadelphia, one in Prudential Center in Newark. NHL Board of Governors approves the sale for the Ottawa Senators. More details are available on the NHL.com website, and I'm sure we will get more into that as soon as more information is announced. Mike Malbrook resigns as head coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets, and Pascal Vincent has been named the head coach for the Blue Jackets. And the Tampa Bay Rays announced they plan to open a new ballpark in St. Petersburg in 2028. The project is estimated over $6.5 billion. And the Orioles, again, clinch the playoffs. The New York Liberty advances to the WNBA semifinals for the first time since 2015. More stories for this WNBA team is continuing to grow, and we'll be talking more about this WNBA team next week as soon as the round ones are over. Judge had 3 home runs yesterday in a victory over the Diamondbacks 7-1. A crazy good night for him following his big returns over the upcoming weeks, and those are my random points for this week.
Very good. Very good. A lot of good points there. So let's Eli, let's do our movie recommendation, and I have I think a real good one. Hopefully you've seen it. I'm thinking of Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner.
Yeah.
And it's a great movie, and it was the foundation for what Major League Baseball capitalized. Right now, they have this Field of Dreams game, which is pretty cool. Right, the first one was the Yankees and all that. That was really awesome. But if you haven't seen that movie, it's a feel good story about kind of a sore subject. This was the shoeless Joe Jackson and the Chicago Black Sox scandal. Back in the World Series, but. Absolutely a great movie, and that was the forerunner for what Major League Baseball capitalized on. They're playing the games in a cornfield once a year now, and I think that's a great
true honor. Absolutely. If I had to throw one out there, I would say the Rocky movies. It's a huge story. Very important.
Well, Rocky One is one of my favorite movies.
Absolutely, that is the best one, of course. But yeah.
Rocky 2 is pretty good also, though.
Yes, they're all good.
And then it started to kind of go downhill.
The decline. That's like Home Alone. 1 was good, 2 was okay, 3 was my favorite, and then the decline began. They came up with more and more and more, and then we saw goodbye to Home Alone.
Very good. Very, very good. Yeah, but if you haven't seen Field of Dreams, it's a Kevin Costner movie. Absolutely great entertainment and so forth. So yeah, so let's touch base now. We had some notable passings, and I wanted to bring this one up because it came up and it resonated with me because I remember watching, and this is Phil Sellers. Phil Sellers was on the Rutgers Final Four team in 1976. And what's notable about that team is they were undefeated going into the Final Four, which they subsequently lost to Michigan. But Phil Sellers was one of the great basketball players, certainly in Rutgers history. I think he's still the all-time leading scorer and rebounder for Rutgers. And
yes, I believe so.
What was notable about that season was, they were undefeated, and Indiana, that's the year Indiana went undefeated and won the national championship under Bobby Knight. But Phil Sellers, and he was a key part of that team, and that's very notable from
I agree,
the world of sports, and certainly not just New Jersey, but he was an all-time
a huge name.
Yes, he was. 69 years old.
Yeah. Right. I had one. It was Sherry Pulek. She was part of the NASCAR Cup Series. A lot of NASCAR veterans, people are remembering her. She died after a long-going battle of cancer at the age of 44. She was born in 1979, died in just a few days ago. She was a huge part of the NASCAR community, and I believe all the NASCAR drivers are going to be putting on almost like the breast cancer ribbon, but in like blue to represent her and the name. So you can check those out. There's some more information about her when you Google her name. Sherry Pulek was the name.
It's funny because we touched base on one of our random points last week was Max Verstappen, who won 10 straight Formula One races. Well, that streak just came to a close. Ironically, after we brought it up and mentioned it, he didn't win. So great story though. With that, so tell us, Eli. So what's going on? How's your show going for you too?
The show's been going good. We've been doing 2 shows a week. One's on Tuesday for the breakdown, a recap of every game for each week. So we'll have another one of week 3 coming up. And then on Friday, we do our picks for the week and break down any latest news from Tuesday into Friday. It's been a fun job. It's been exciting. It's more action, more football. It's been going well. And I think I'm more happy because football's back. And I don't think everybody could say the same thing. Once football's back, everybody's happy. You have something to do on Sundays. So that's that's exciting.
And the thing is about the early stages of the football season, because you get beautiful weather in the Northeast, right? You kind of always want to be outside in the fall. But once the football season starts and then it starts to get cold and rainy on Sundays, there's nothing like just sitting around watching game after game after game.
Yeah.
That's great.
And here's your photo.
Yes, we got a photo. That's my little boy. That's my grandson, Hudson, who's now running around like he owns the place. And
well, that's good.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's absolutely awesome. And I wanted to give a shout out. Also, I got to give a shout out to Donald Orlowski Jr., who is the son of one of my dear friends, Donald Sr. Got married last night.
Oh wow!
Beautiful. Yeah. So there was
congratulations
Friday night wedding for him, and like I said, I've known Donald since he was in diapers, for crying out loud, and now. He just got married last night, so that was great to see.
That's awesome.
Congratulations to him.
Congrats.
So we got football on tap for today, right?
Absolutely.
Get ready for the Ohio State Notre Dame game. I actually like Notre Dame to possibly win that game.
I got Notre Dame.
You got Notre Dame?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, me too. I think they're loaded. And I'm not ruling out Colorado beating Oregon, but that's going to be a tough test.
Absolutely.
I don't know if Travis Hunter's back or not back yet, but we'll
Can't leave
see
it out.
about that, you know. So it's kind of a, like I said, it's a cold, damp, miserable day. The weather's not
Jersey, New
cooperating.
York.
So hopefully you can get
games are
your
messed
game
up.
in tonight.
Your games are gonna be messed up, folks. Just to let everybody know, if you're a Jets fan, Baltimore fan, or if you're a Commanders fan, all 3 games are gonna be impacted by this storm coming up this weekend. So just be mindful.
Yeah,
when you're
yeah.
watching.
But that's what, you know, that's what's on tap for this week. So we got, like I said, we're gonna cut it a little short today because I know you got you got some errands to run and so forth. But
Yes.
again, everybody, please send us an email at sportswithmonoandmono@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts on, you know, tell us some random points. Give us a movie recommendation, something
Give us
like
whatever
that.
you want, or we want to hear
Yeah.
your thoughts just overall on the quality and everything. We want to hear more and ways to improve.
Yeah, and you're really doing, Eli, a great job with you know, the graphics now on the show, and you know, I really a market improvement from where we originally started. I think you're doing a great job, and I'm
Thank
real
you.
happy to have you on the show too. So,
Thanks.
and again, you can catch us on YouTube and Facebook and
Twitter and wherever you watch.
yeah, right. So
Twitter X.
like I said, yeah, please feel free to chime in anytime. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And again, we start and close with you know, just a gratitude for all the support from my brother Steve. And like I said, you guys, everybody have a great week.
Yes.
Eli, good luck with your Seahawks this weekend. And
Yes.
you know,
Big week.
no Giant game this week, and you know, so
Well, yeah.
so the Zach Wilson watch is on, right, for the Jets.
Oh
right?
yeah,
You
we're
know?
losing to the Patriots, by the way. I had that pick. I want to make sure I pick that clear.
Oh, I know. I was surprised that the Patriots lost last week, actually.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. We'll see about that. But everybody, thanks again
Thanks
for
for
joining
watching.
us. And you guys have a great weekend. And we'll be back 9 o'clock next week.
Next week, 9 o'clock. Join us then.
Yep.
See you one.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.